Now, today we're going to be talking about overcoming arthritis, how Black women can find relief with CBD. The last time you were here, we were talking about fibroids, and we had some really disturbing news at the end of that. It felt like the weight of the world was falling on women because that was the day that the House passed the SAVE Act, and I was very distraught and upset. And since that time, we've now had 420. So I'm hoping that your 420 was elevated and light and airy and full of love. And at the time of this recording, let's also pray that it did not also mean that we're going to be living in a martial law environment. So, Dr. Damas, welcome back. Always a pleasure to have you here. Let's talk about arthritis and what CBD promises in terms of potential for helping us to navigate it, those of us who are suffering from it.
So 420 was a high holy day, actually, because it's also on Easter. It was also on Easter, right?
That's right.
But
So not only were the 420 adherents elevating,
yeah,
also celebrating the resurrection,
listen, yeah,
one massive elevation, I guess. I mean, there's
exactly, right?
it's
People do
connection there.
say that, those dudes, the apostles is kind of like his cipher.
Did you ever see? Well, did you ever see that movie with Lakeith Stansfield? Where oh my gosh, it's gonna bug me if I can't find it. I saw it. Wasn't an independent film, but Lakeith Stansfield was playing one of Jesus's disciple, and it was a really good film. And it was like Jesus was black. The Book of Clarence, that's what it was. Book of Clarence came out in
Ooh.
2023. There is some indication that the apostles was litty.
Yeah,
The apostles were using natural medicine, even back, which I guess was the only kind of medicine they had
that
back
was
then.
the only kind of medicine they were using.
Yeah.
So here, I'll tell you some real quick before we get. So here's some trivia. The term hashish comes
Mhm.
from the use of hash, right? In these group of Persian warriors, they were assassins. And so after they went out and fought and did their fights and all that stuff, they would come back and smoke hash to bring themselves back down and relax and tend to their wounds and like take everything down. So the assassins used to smoke hashassins, and so they used the hashish term
Huh.
derived from that. So that's like, that's
Wow.
the only thing you had, right? So it was that, or you had like, poppy and stuff. It wasn't until the Westerners came and started like, just like doing all the crazy stuff that it became what it is now. But prior
As
to that, like
Westerners
a
are
normal,
wont to do.
yeah, it was a normal thing. Like, yeah, we just went to war. Like we're coming back.
Of course, we need to come down.
Yeah, we need to come down. And
I'm an assassin. Of course, I'm going to imbibe in hashish after the war.
yeah, I need to bring it down. I gotta go see my
Right.
family. You
Can't be
know?
taking that assassin energy to go see the kids. Gotta
Yeah,
hunt these kids.
exactly. So, oh man. So going to arthritis, I don't know how we're segueing from assassins to arthritis.
Well, as an assassin, I'm sure the aches and pains
The
of the.
aches and pains from,
I don't know how we got here. How did we get
I
here?
don't know.
Hashish.
It actually started with Jesus. I don't know. We went all the way. We went all the way. Oh my
From
God.
Jesus resurrected on the high holy Easter to
Yeah, well,
assassins also needing to be
this
high and holy.
this is how we're gonna connect it all. Because have you ever gotten up out of a chair and says, "Oh, Jesus, help me," and felt something in your knee? Well, that's arthritis.
It's not an assassin sling. It's
Yeah, that
arthritis.
is.
I knew we could bring it. I knew we could do it. We could pull it together. I knew we could. I believe in us.
Yes, that's arthritis.
That's
It's
funny.
not an assassin. And if Jesus doesn't help you with it, I can.
I can't take it. I can't take
You
it.
can get out the
Lord,
you get
Lord
out of
have
the chair.
mercy.
As a matter of fact, what you should get out of the chair and be like, "Ooh, that Damas." Damas
You know,
was
right now, somebody is in their very sanctified feelings and about to turn us off. This is sacrilegious.
this
They,
is
they
all they
done
know.
said the
Exactly.
disciples was litty. They done
Yeah.
said Jesus was a high holy holiday.
Yeah.
Somebody's turning us off right now.
That
And
right?
yet there are so many others who are turning on because they're like, yes, I
Exactly.
believe in that.
Oh my God. Yes, we can't, it's life, right? We
It
we can
is.
only be who we are. You
That's
know, So, if you've been running from assassins, for example, all your life, you can get wear and tear from your joints, like your feet, your ankles, your knees, your hips, your back, all that stuff. If
Mm.
you're an assassin, let's say in old Persia, maybe you have like some shoulder, irritation from all the sword slashing, right? Or right from
That's gotta be a repetitive injury potential.
yeah,
Like, if I was
exactly.
slashing with the sword,
Yeah,
my
right.
shoulder gotta be in it. Yes. Okay.
Exactly,
Okay.
right? Or maybe, you got some arthritis in the elbow from pulling the arrow back all the
Or
time.
down.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Riding on a horse,
Like carpal tunnel.
yeah, exactly. Shouts out to Amina.
Yeah, I don't know that joke, but wait for a couple more episodes. You'll see carpal tunnel come back up.
And so what happens is arthritis is, if you guys remember, anytime you hear itis at the end of a medical term, it means inflammation. Except if we're talking about what happens to Black people after you eat.
I was
That's a
about to say,
different
wait
item.
a minute. Because
That's
when we
different.
get the itis, are we inflamed with food? Is that what
Yeah,
that's?
you are. Yeah, you got the itis, right? Not that I. So arthritis is an inflammation of the joints, right? And there's all types of arthritis, most common being rheumatoid and osteoarthritis. The major differences between those two is that osteoarthritis is as a result of wear and tear. You've been doing a lot of stuff. You live on Earth. The gravity is hard on your bones, or you've been working. You've been just existing and living life. So it can cause osteoarthritis. Right? There's nothing you can do that's just like degenerative changes. I mean, you can live a healthier lifestyle. We'll talk about it. And then there's rheumatoid arthritis, and that basically is an autoimmune condition. And what we mean by autoimmune, that means like your body's immune system is the cause of this condition. So it's not that you were running around doing a lot of things, playing sports or working a really difficult job, or were in the military, whatever it is that can lead to osteoarthritis, right? Rheumatoid arthritis is your body thinks that your joints don't belong there. So there's something going on, right? And so all the time it's going to the joint or to the particular area and trying to fix something that's not available to be fixed. And as a result of showing up, it causes damage. It causes inflammation because your immune system, it's like, what do they call the thing where, people have been doing swatting people, where they call SWAT and say, go to this house, and then, SWAT shows up and kicks the door down, they come in, right? So you just cause damage, but there's nothing going on at that place. But you called in the defense squadron, and they came in,
Got
they broke
swatted.
the window, yeah, right, they broke the windows, they kicked down the doors, they did all that. And after they leave, you got to look at the mess that they made, right? The door's broken now, the locks are busted, the windows they might have thrown a smoke pellet in there, you can't breathe in there. And so rheumatoid arthritis is an immune thing, whereas osteoarthritis is a degenerative, like wear and tear thing, right? And so there's different ways to approach them. There's some similarities in terms of how you want to manage the pain, but if you get into the minutia, you want to know that one thing is caused by this, and one thing is caused. So, a change in activity level is not going to improve your rheumatoid, right? Whereas the osteoarthritis, right? You go in and says, "Oh, doctor, it hurts when I do this." The doctor says, "Don't do that anymore," right?
Right.
Right? For
Right.
rheumatoid,
Don't
it
do
hurts
that.
when I do this. That's it, right? It's always going to hurt. It's going to be like that, right? And so with that, you get these different treatment options that people, try. A lot of people have difficulty with them. Some involve, typical non-steroidals like ibuprofen, Advil, which are really rough on your kidneys and your stomach lining, so you can wind up with ulcers. The
Mm.
generation before me, like the boomers, they used to use a lot of aspirin. So aspirin is not really used as a pain reliever as commonly anymore, right? So like I'm Generation X, we used a lot of Advil, a lot of ibuprofen, right? Which is also
Yep.
still bad, right? And so as the generations go like younger, right? Now the generation behind us kind of uses more like Tylenol, and they're using more holistic stuff. And
Mm.
so you
Okay.
see a kind of change in the way, excuse me, people have been trying to manage these conditions over the years, and cannabis and CBD are now an extension of that, that people are saying. Definitely not taking aspirin, right? And I'm definitely not going to take this ibuprofen stuff anymore. I don't even want to take this Oxy or Percocet because I know what happens, right? So what other options and how can I manage my conditions without doing damage to myself, my kidneys, my stomach lining, my mental health? I don't want to become an addict,
Right.
right? So these are all the things that you have to think of when you're managing these conditions.
So, how do you know that you have arthritis as opposed to just a pain? And I'm asking for a friend, but I'm also asking for me because the other day I stood up and I took a step the way walking people do. Like the way people who don't have issues with walking, like who I don't need a walker, I don't need a wheelchair. I get up and I walk. That's how I mobilize from one place to another. When I tell you, I put my foot on the floor and something happened with my ankle and I was like, what the entire F is that? And it was a pain. I was like, Jiminy Christmas on a cracker. What is going on? Now the pain didn't stay. So obviously, excuse me, I
Mm.
don't think it's arthritis. But in that moment, I was like, is Lord Elizabeth, am I coming home? Like, what is happening? What is going on? How do we know that something is a pain that's just a pain? And I've been told that people who are approaching, if you've got ovaries and you're in approaching perimenopause, which I definitely think I am in my late 40s, then like, you know, you're going to get some pains. Apparently, should
Yeah.
just be paining sometimes. So I was like,
Yep.
okay, it might be that. But if I were to think that perhaps I might have arthritis, how would I know?
So the one thing is that it's usually not isolated, like you just mentioned, right? So it would be
Okay.
something a little bit more persistent and chronic. So you would get that pain more often, and you would probably to the point, if you let it go on enough, you'd complain about it. Well, how you feeling, man? My ankle, this achy ankle of mine is acting up today, or whatever. Like yeah, how you feel? Oh, I still got that ankle that's bothering me, right? So now this thing has been around for a significant enough time that you're now aware of it. Like you're like, this is a thing, right? If it's just like a one timer, then it could be also the beginnings of it. This could be the beginnings. You're first like, oh, what was that, right? And then like next month, you're like, remember last month I said I had this pain in my ankle? I'm feeling that same pain again, right? So like the first instance could be like the canary in the coal mine or the harbinger of what's going to be. 'Cause harbinger, that's a good word.
Yes.
I went to a
That's my
lot of
favorite.
school. I know the best words, big
All the
words,
words. We know the
all the
words.
words. I know all the
That
words.
we're not monosyllabic here. We're trisyllabic.
You
We're quadrasyllabic. We can do it all.
there's a word I used to know because I speak three languages and I forgot what the word is, but like there's a word for somebody who speaks three language.
Hmm.
Show off. I think that's what it is. Show. That's
I
what I'm doing.
prefer one who is unabashedly possessed of their greatness.
Yeah, yeah, I
I
am.
prefer that.
I, you know, I've been abashed, and I prefer to be unabashed. I've lived life abashed. Let me tell you, it's whack.
Unabashed is where it's at.
Yeah, unabashed
Unabashedly
is much
embracing
better.
the fullness that we bring.
So, so with the arthritis, you'll get some other things. Swelling usually comes along with it. The warmth, a lot of people complain about the warmth, and that is like a big sign, the swelling and the warmth, or even the redness that your body is trying to do something, right? The swelling there is either something's really messed up and it's leaking fluid, or your immune system showed up in a large amount. And they're like, we got, when we come out of the house, we ready to do work. We don't care what's going on, right?
Right.
We were told there was a problem here when we got to report back to the boss. So we got to do something, right? You ever see people like, I got to do something. I'm sorry. I got to mark something down in order to get paid for this job. Right? Well, I don't need you to do it anymore. Yeah, but I've already been out here on the call. So, right. So that's
Right.
how your immune system will be. So you'll see that. And then sometimes you'll feel like a decreased range of motion, meaning like it just doesn't move the way that it used to before, whether it's a large joint like your knee, your hips, right? You're just like, man, this is really stiff, or even smaller ones like your ankles or your fingers. People who get, arthritis in their hands have difficulty over time doing little fine movements, opening bottles, tying things together, buttoning clothes, and all that stuff. And that's because of the inflammation and the stiffness in those little joints. They just don't have a whole lot of room to accommodate a bunch of fluid or any changes in their structure. And so arthritis over a long period of time can start to actually change the joint structure. So you might see that people with rheumatoid arthritis will have these kind of like fingers, that the tips of the fingers, joints near the tips of the fingers are not involved, but the other ones are like really big and swollen and knobby. People with osteoarthritis will have like changes in the shape of like knees a lot of time, where like the knee, because of always all the swelling or whatever, becomes like rectangular or very large looking. Yeah, so if you don't manage it well, it can, progress to something that becomes even more and more structural.